Appreciation is the foundation of a healthy and loving relationship. When a woman feels truly valued and seen by her partner, it deepens the emotional connection and fosters lasting intimacy. But sometimes, despite your best efforts, she may not seem to fully recognize or appreciate all that you do. The good news is that appreciation is something you can nurture and grow with intention and understanding. In this guide, inspired by Dr. Laura Berman's insights, you'll learn practical ways to strengthen your bond, communicate more effectively, and create a relationship where she naturally feels grateful for who you are and shows it in meaningful ways. This isn't just dating advice, it's a shift in how you live and love. Ready? Let's go. Let's start with one of the most important shifts you need to make. Stop constantly reassuring her. One of the fastest ways to kill attraction and completely eliminate any chance of a woman fearing the loss of you is by making it your job to repeatedly tell her that you're not going anywhere, that she has nothing to worry about, and that your feelings will never change. Here's the thing most men don't realize. When you keep reassuring a woman, you're not actually building trust. What you're doing is sending a subtle but powerful message that you're afraid of losing her, and that kind of energy, it doesn't make her feel secure. It makes you look emotionally dependent, needy, and vulnerable in a way that triggers her to pull back. The moment she senses that you're the one clinging to the connection, the power in the relationship shifts. Women are naturally drawn to men who are steady but not needy, men who carry themselves with calm confidence, not desperation. The more you try to convince her that you're always going to be there, the more she starts to question why you feel the need to prove it so hard. That's exactly where the fear of loss disappears, because when she's 100% sure you'll stay no matter what, she doesn't feel like she's risking anything. And when there's no risk, there's no chase, no emotional spark. Now imagine this common scenario: you're dating a woman and she begins asking questions like, "Do you still like me?" Or "Are you mad at me?" Instead of rushing to calm every doubt and immediately assuring her, you pause. You don't play cold or distant, but you don't jump in to fix her feelings either. You let her sit with that slight discomfort just long enough to realize that you're not going to over-explain or plead for her peace of mind. That simple pause, holding your ground with calm confidence, can create a massive change in how she views you. You're not being cold or uncaring. You're being centered and secure. You're showing her that your world doesn't revolve around constantly proving your value or chasing after her emotional validation. When she sees this, something shifts in her. Instead of leaning away, she starts leaning in. She begins thinking about what she can do to keep your attention, to be the woman worthy of your time and energy, not just assuming your attention will always be there no matter what. The truth is, women deeply respect the man who doesn't feel the need to constantly reassure them. They chase the man who knows his worth and doesn't feel the urge to explain or prove it. Every time she's feeling unsure or insecure, it's not your responsibility to manage her emotional security or be her emotional crutch. Your responsibility is to stay grounded, to carry your own weight emotionally, and to let her meet you halfway. The less you reassure unnecessarily, the more she begins to wonder where she stands, and that curiosity sparks the chase. It creates a magnetic pull that draws her in, because uncertainty and emotional tension are the fertile ground where desire grows. So remember this: stop trying to fix every moment of doubt with reassurance. Instead, cultivate calm confidence, set clear boundaries, and show that your emotional world is stable and secure on its own. That's when you become the man she's afraid to lose, and the one she truly wants to keep. Number 2, ignore her when she pulls away. This is one of the most challenging but powerful moves a man can make. When a woman starts to pull back, when she becomes distant, responds less, or seems less interested, most men panic. They feel the shift immediately and go into overdrive. They start texting more, asking what's wrong, trying to fix something that hasn't even been explained. That reaction alone is a kiss of death for attraction, because it screams emotional dependence. When you chase after her the moment her energy drops, you're telling her that her distance controls you. She quickly learns that all she has to do to get more attention is to pull back a little, and you'll jump to prove your worth. And that, my friend, is exactly how you lose her respect. The smarter move is to ignore the distance. Don't reward it with extra effort. Don't chase after someone who's choosing to step back. Instead, stay grounded, stay focused, and stay silent. This isn't about being angry or playing mind games. It's about valuing your own energy and refusing to waste it on someone who isn't matching it. Now, this goes against a lot of what we've been taught. We're told to always communicate, to fight for love, to be emotionally available. But here's the truth. A woman's pullback isn't always about something deep or serious. Sometimes it's a test. Sometimes it's her way of seeing how much power she really has over you. The more reactive you are, the more control you hand over to her. But when you ignore the pullback and keep living your life, something remarkable happens. She starts to feel that you're not emotionally shaken. She realizes you're not going to chase her. And that's when she begins paying attention. That's when the potential loss starts to hit her. You didn't try to convince her to stay. You didn't beg. You simply stayed silent and let her wonder. And silence from a man who's usually steady and consistent, that gets loud in our mind. Paired with confidence, not passive aggression that. Silence makes her question her choice to pull away. She starts remembering what it felt like when your presence was steady. That's when she starts chasing because she knows she has to earn you again. The bottom line is this: reacting to her distance by pushing harder makes you look desperate, like you're trying to hold something together by force. Ignoring it puts the ball in her court. It makes her decide if she truly values your presence. So let her feel that space. Let her feel the quiet. If she values you, she'll come back on her own, and this time, she'll respect you more than ever before. Number 3, let her see you have options. Nothing triggers a woman's fear of losing you faster than realizing she's not your only option. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be juggling 10 different women or flirting around all the time. It means you live your life fully and richly socially, mentally, emotionally, so she sees that your world isn't revolving around her alone. Too many men make the mistake of dropping everything once they like a woman. They stop seeing friends, cancel routines, and make her the center of their day. While it might feel like commitment to you, to her it comes across as desperation. She senses your world shrinking around her, and the more it does, the less she respects it. Women want a man who's already in demand, not just by other women, but by life itself. They want to feel like they've been chosen, not like you're waiting for someone to fill a void. When she realizes you're not trying to trap her into commitment, but instead choosing to give her a spot in a life that's already full and active, she values it more. Letting her see you have options shifts the entire dynamic. It keeps her attentive and reminds her your time isn't guaranteed. You're not being cold or distant, you're being selective. You're not rushing to lock anything down. You're letting things unfold naturally, showing her that if she doesn't match your energy, you're not afraid to move on. And this applies beyond dating other women. It applies to how you spend your time, your energy, your attention. When you're consistently busy building yourself through work, hobbies, health, social life, you stop looking like a man who needs a relationship and you start looking like a man she doesn't want to lose. That shift is huge. And the best part? You don't have to say a word about it. You don't have to prove anything. When you live like a man with options, people feel it. Your energy changes. Your communication becomes lighter, less urgent. You're not pushing forward, you're simply moving forward with or without her. This creates pressure in the best way possible. She feels the competition not necessarily from other women, but from the quality of your life. She knows that if she doesn't stay consistent, she could be replaced. Not because you're petty or calculating, but because you've built a life where you don't need to hold on to anyone just to feel whole. When she sees that, the fear of losing you becomes real, and that's exactly what makes her chase. Number 4, never explain yourself too much. One of the biggest mistakes that keeps men stuck in weak positions with women is over-explaining themselves. Whether it's justifying why you didn't text back right away, over-explaining your actions, or constantly trying to make sure she doesn't misunderstand, it all comes from the same place, the fear of losing her. But here's the reality: when you feel the need to constantly explain yourself, you're giving away your power. You're basically saying, I hope this is okay with you. You're seeking approval without even realizing it, and that puts her in control of how the dynamic plays out. Women don't want a man who's always trying to smooth things over. They want a man who says what he means, does what he says, and leaves it at that. No extra commentary, no nervous explanations, just confidence in his decisions. That's what creates respect. That's what keeps her wondering about you instead of feeling like she's your emotional supervisor. When you keep explaining your every move, you come across as uncertain. And uncertainty is unattractive when it's coming from a man. You don't need to convince her that your choices make sense. You need to stand by your choices without being rattled by how she might react. This doesn't mean you become cold or careless. It means you stop talking so much when nothing needs to be said. You stop trying to manage her emotions. You stop apologizing for things that don't require an apology. You trust your own actions and let her respond how she chooses. The more you explain yourself, the more she sees you trying to protect the connection. And the more she sees you doing that, the less value she places on it because she knows you're trying harder than she is. That kills the tension that keeps attraction alive. When you say something, say it once and move on. If she wants to question it, let her. If she wants to assume something, let her. You don't need to chase clarity with someone who's emotionally mature. They'll come to you if they need understanding. And if they don't, you're not responsible for running around trying to clean it up. Every time you over-explain, you trade self-respect for temporary peace. But when you let go of that habit, you start moving like a man who doesn't fear loss. You say less, mean more, and keep the frame in your hands. That's the kind of presence a woman takes seriously. The less you explain, the more she respects. What you say, let your actions speak. Let your boundaries stand. That's how you make her feel like she could lose something solid, and that's what keeps her chasing. Number 5. Walk away when disrespected. This is one of the strongest ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you, and it's also one of the simplest. Walk away the moment she crosses a line and disrespects you. Not after the second or third time. Not after you've tried explaining your worth or asking for respect. The very first time she disrespects you, respond with distance, not with words or arguments. The biggest reason most men get stuck in unhealthy dynamics with women is because they tolerate behavior that chips away at their self-respect. They let rude comments slide. They laugh off subtle jabs. They ignore disrespectful tones, all in the name of keeping the peace. But here's what's really happening. They're teaching her there are no consequences for treating them poorly. Respect isn't built by demanding it or begging for it. Respect is built by showing that you will leave the moment it disappears. Let's say you're with a woman who suddenly makes passive-aggressive remarks in front of her friends. Maybe she mocks something you said or talks down to you to get a laugh. You feel it hits differently. Most guys would brush it off awkwardly, give a nervous smile, or wait until later to explain how they felt. But all of that is still a form of trying to fix things without setting real boundaries. Now imagine this instead. You stay silent, you don't react emotionally, you don't engage, and you cut the interaction short. You calmly tell her you're leaving and you actually leave. You don't text her to explain later. You don't apologize for your reaction. You simply show that you don't stay where you're not respected. That kind of move is unforgettable. It hits harder than any argument ever could. It creates a moment where she's forced to think. She starts to realize she may have crossed a line she can't walk back from. And that's exactly when the fear of loss sets in. Because now you're not just telling her you have standards, you're showing it. You don't need to scream, guilt trip, or argue. Your silence and your distance speak louder than words ever could. Walking away sends a clear message. I'm not here to tolerate disrespect, and I don't need this connection to survive. Men who can walk away instantly when disrespected are rare. And that's why they're treated differently. Because they're not chasing approval, they're living by principles. And women feel that energy. It makes them step up. It makes them think twice. And most importantly, it makes them respect you on a level words can't reach. So don't waste your energy fighting for someone to treat you better. Instead, show her what happens when she doesn't. 6. Delay your responses on purpose. One of the most overlooked ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you is by simply not being instantly available all the time. This includes how quickly you respond to her messages. Most guys think quick replies show interest or good communication. In reality, they often reveal a lack of boundaries, purpose, and self-control. When a woman sends a message and gets a response within seconds, every single time she begins to assume you're always waiting. She starts thinking you don't have much going on. She stops seeing your time as something valuable. And that's exactly when the dynamic shifts in the wrong direction. Delaying your responses isn't about ignoring her or being rude. It's about showing her without saying a word that you're not glued to your phone waiting to connect. You're busy, you're living your life. You're not sitting there hoping she'll reach out. That kind of energy is powerful because it quietly tells her you've got your own world to handle. And when she feels that, it creates tension. It makes her curious. It makes her wonder what's taking you so long, what you're up to, who has your attention. That sense of uncertainty is a huge part of attraction, not because it's a game, but because it brings her back to the emotional space where she starts thinking about you again. If you always reply instantly, there's no build-up, no space, no room for her to feel anything between messages. It becomes predictable. And when things are predictable, they become dull. But when there's space, when she doesn't know if you'll reply right away or later, every message you send has more weight. She reads it more carefully. She responds with more energy because now she knows your time isn't guaranteed. This isn't about texting rules or playing hot and cold. It's about pacing your energy. You're not rushing. You're not reacting emotionally. You're choosing when and how to engage. That alone shifts the frame. You go from being the man who's always available to the man she's hoping to hear from. And that changes everything. When you delay your responses on purpose, you train her to value your attention. You show that your communication isn't a given, it's a decision. And that decision becomes something she starts looking forward to. She starts checking her phone more often. She starts wondering about your day. Eventually, she starts chasing your presence, not because you disappeared, but because you stopped acting like you had nothing better to do. Let your response time reflect your priorities. That alone builds pressure, and pressure creates pursuit. 7. Keep your emotions in check. This is where a lot of men need to get brutally honest with themselves. If you lose control of your emotions every time something shifts with a woman, if you react with anger, panic, neediness, or confusion, you're handing over your power. And once that power is gone, the fear of losing you disappears with it. You can't expect a woman to respect you if you're always reacting to her every mood. Attraction isn't built on emotional instability. It's built on presence, consistency, and control. A woman will test you whether she knows she's doing it or not. She'd challenge your confidence, question your decisions, pull back, or act distant. And if your first instinct is to fall apart emotionally, chase her down, or beg for clarity, you've already lost the frame. A lot of men were never taught emotional discipline. They think showing love means showing everything, every doubt, every fear, every complaint. But what ends up happening is they emotionally dump on women who aren't equipped to handle that, and then feel rejected when she pulls away. Here's what men need to understand. Emotional control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about learning how to process those emotions before reacting. You feel frustrated, take a breath. You feel disrespected, pause and assess. Instead of reacting immediately, you give yourself space to respond in a way that keeps your power intact. Step away before saying something out of pocket. You feel confused? Sit with it for a bit before trying to solve it with a 5-paragraph message. The man who keeps his emotions in check sends a clear message. He's not controlled by anyone else's behavior, and that's rare. That's powerful. That's what makes women start to wonder what it would feel like to lose him. Because now she sees a man who isn't easily shaken, who doesn't get pulled into emotional chaos, who's solid no matter what. So here's the wake-up call. Stop wearing your heart on your sleeve every time things don't go your way. Start carrying yourself like a man who's seen life, who's felt highs and lows, and who refuses to fall apart just because someone else is being inconsistent. You can't build attraction through emotional breakdowns. You build it by being the calm in the middle of her storm. You build it by making her realize that no matter what mood she's in, you're still in control of yours. That's what triggers her respect. That's what triggers her fear of losing. You doubt she doesn't need another emotional mess. She needs a man who knows how to handle pressure. Be that man and watch how her behavior shifts. Let's end this with a simple but uncomfortable fact. The moment a woman feels like she has you emotionally locked in, she stops fearing the idea of losing you. And that's when she starts pulling away. Most men create that exact dynamic by accident. They give too much, they respond too fast, they get too emotional. And slowly, without realizing it, they hand over every bit of leverage they had. If you want to be the man she chases, you can't make her feel like your attention is permanent. You have to move like a man who values himself more than he fears losing anyone. You don't build that overnight. But the second you start, women feel the shift. You become the one she studies, the one she works to keep, the one she's afraid to lose. I want to hear from you. What's been your experience with this? Have you seen the moment things flipped? Maybe you gave too much too soon. Or maybe you've started moving differently and saw her energy change. Drop your story in the comments. I'm not just posting and disappearing, I'll be replying. I want to hear what you've been through. And what's finally making sense? This channel isn't about fancy dating advice. It's about waking men up and getting real results. We're building something here and you're part of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.